Hi there, my name is Nettie and today we're playing Factorio. Welcome back, everybody. I hope you're having a great day. When we last left off, we were messing with a couple of things, and I had kind of started to come up with a new rail station stop design. And you can kind of see it on the map there, and I think this is more or less what I'm going to go with. And hopefully we'll just sort of create a little bit more something. I don't really know. I think, so what I'm thinking is for these sort of blocks that maybe I'll make them a little wider or a little taller, but this is more or less what I need, and it kind of already fits within at least the height that I came up with here. It would not fit within the width. But it, the track lines up, I think sort of just in this particular case. But it wouldn't matter. I mean, we would design the length or even width of the blocks to fit that. So this could even theoretically be one more wider, but it won't matter. So if I put a train here, should mean that a 6-car train can come in and stop here, and 6-car trains can wait in these little buffer areas for their turn. I went ahead and made buffers on both sides. Probably not super duper necessary, but if we do want trains to sort of come in here and wait for something before they head out. I went ahead and sort of built a few of the tracks just to sort of get a final look at what they might look like, and I think this is sort of what we're gonna have, with the little lumps. I think I don't love the little lumps, but whatever. They fit. They sit within, and the stops will be sort of within those. So theoretically, any train, and this is a bad example, so it's the wrong flow of traffic, but trains coming from any direction should be able to, come in if we sort of imagine that it's the other way around, or that the stop is over here. So yeah, let's just imagine this stop is over here. So a train coming from below in the middle lane should be able to loop around, jump out to the outer track, get into the station that way. And then a train coming from here on the outer track will be able to loop in and do that same thing. Trains coming from the right, get in the, so basically if once you're in the loop, you're good. You can get to the station. And then the same will be true for the inner or outer tracks. If they're coming on the outer track, there will be one of these lumpy things here, and they can transition to the inner track, take the loop, and then transition back out into the station. So I'm pretty sure this will give us everything we need. It'll also make signaling a little bit more straightforward. We can start to break some of these things up a little bit more, because we can break track and signal track within these transitions in a way that we weren't able to do before, because when they cross together, we can't really signal any of this. So, and then we could move one transition later, but I just found that would seem kind of silly. So I think this should basically give us everything we need. It should allow the trains to transition between any track they need, going from a straight to the intersection, and then to essentially any outward track that they want. I've noticed that trains sort of favor one way or the other, but whatever, doesn't matter. Anyway, so that's sort of the thought process behind the intersection, which I was sort of still kind of a little bit on the fence about last episode, but I think this station is going to help a fair bit, and then it's just a matter of what is going to be, how am I going to design things like this if I want something that has several platforms that do the same thing, right, with the same name and everything. And I don't think I'm going to stack them like this, that's for sure. So I think what I'll do is instead just make more of these. more stops, This can hold several trains. Hopefully, if we're smart about our trains and we get them moving as fast as possible, there won't be too much waiting around. But, if we want more, say, iron plates, like, I'm probably not going to take this down anytime soon. Maybe at some point we'll get to a point where this is just so obsolete that it's got to go. But for now, I think it's okay. It technically, it legally does the thing it's supposed to do. But I think going forward, if I wanted, say, to add more iron plates, like at some point this isn't going to be enough. It probably already isn't really enough. But, at some point this is going to be kind of critically not enough. And then, so we're going to have to add more iron plates anyhow. And this kind of thing might be, we'll just add another one of these. Or maybe we'll even have some areas that don't have any production, right? Maybe it would make more sense to, although I don't exactly know how I would handle that, because that would just mean moving plates between one train to another train, and it just seems silly. So, but yeah, regardless, we'll have, maybe we'll make another iron ore, maybe down this way here, or on this one, and we'll set it up in such a way where maybe we can have several of these, like around. We could theoretically at least have like 4, but I mean, yeah, for a node, mining node, we probably can get away with only having output stations. Like I created this drop off for coal, so there's that, but otherwise, for the most part, can just be drop off. So yeah, the coal maybe, but yeah, I don't know. We'll see. And then I thought about what we could potentially use this space for, and maybe it wouldn't always be this, but I went ahead and made like a sort of a redone version of the little coal refuel setup. So this could theoretically go here, and then this would essentially be the train picking up and dropping off the coal, or picking up the coal from the mine and dropping it off here, would stop here. This is where we would create our logic for disabling and enabling the station, and then it would provide the coal to these 2, and it would have 2, and they would be off the main line. So it would have these 2 little coal refuel stops, and then designed so that this would be on car 6. And I think going forward, we will only ever use a second train car, a second locomotive, if it is the 6th car, right? So we'll have, 1 1s, 1 2s, and 1 3s. But then if we have a 1 4, we might add another locomotive, but only in that circumstance. And then maybe later down the line, we'll have longer trains and we'll have to deal with it, but in a different way. But for now, I think just, the 2 locomotives and the 4 wagons, each a locomotive on either side of the train, kind of works pretty well for the way that I've sort of been designing my stops. But then this kind of fits in pretty nice. I could even theoretically add another station, but I don't know if it would really be able to do that without getting too much shorter. Maybe that's a little, these would be kind of on that curve there, which wouldn't really super work. But yeah, the idea is that, I'm kind of going to always have only the 6th train. So the only thing that'll ever park here is going to be a locomotive. So this won't start dumping coal into other cars, which is pretty much exactly what we have over here, right? It's exactly the same thing. This has never really been an issue because the only car that is 6th, or I put this cheeky little stop here. Sometimes a train might park here waiting for the train in front of it. And now it's the 1st train, which again, locomotive. So yeah, I feel pretty good about this. We may not put this in every single station. We probably don't need that many, but this could be a fun kind of modular space where we make these kind of self-contained little stations within this sort of gap or just build other things. I don't know. But anyway, so that's sort of I think that's kind of the design I'm going to go with for these stations. And so now I've got some new blueprints for those two things. I haven't gotten rid of the old blueprints yet, just in case, because they could really mess everything up. And at some point, I'll probably kind of redesign the 4-lane setup as well to maybe include things like, power poles or, some sort of, maybe I'll come up with some sort of roadway almost and figure out how I want to handle that. Maybe it's the kind of thing where I have the power on one of the outer areas. That seems weird, and it seems sort of like it would be inherently biased one way or the other, depending on which way I oriented it. It's going to be sort of inherently more or less difficult to get power from the main line to one of the things. So that doesn't seem to make sense. So maybe the middle, and then maybe like this is a road, like just concrete bricks, or maybe both sides. These just are concrete or stone, so that I can easily walk or drive along here. There wouldn't be any obstructions. What I do here is debatable. Let's see how easy it is for me, a bad driver, to just sort of make this turn. Like if I were to just sort of go like this. Yeah, okay. That's not bad. That's not too crazy. If I'm driving along here and then I do this, I'm more or less able to stay in my lane, literally. So yeah, something like that maybe. But we'll see. But yeah, this is kind of the sort of thought about what it will end up looking like in the near future. But I don't know if I'm too worried about it just yet. I think it's still sort of in progress. But anyway, and then the next step sort of for this, I don't know if I'll add it to the blueprint. I probably will, but maybe I'll separate it. So I'll have the track, and this can maybe with the conveyors or without, but these tracks will maybe be a little bit more modular, where I might use this track layout for other things. I don't really exactly know what, but something where I can basically drop off a single material and add it to a train, So maybe I'll have something like a car switcher. So maybe I'll have something that goes and picks up iron plates in the first car, because that's really the only option, brings it into one of these stations, drops it off, and then that station unloads into the second car slot, right? And then another train can come in here and just pick up iron plates in its second car, right? So sort of like a little shifting kind of situation, something like that. And then that won't need the logic or anything like that. So maybe I'll make a little coal thing that disables the train here or there. But that might be true for the little shifting things too. I don't know. Anyway, I would like to start actually making some things automated. So let's see, what am I looking at here? I do not nearly have enough resources for that though. So let's go back to the old base, start getting some resources, hopefully for one of the last times, because the goal here is what I want to start working on here is actually getting some of my common use items automated, because I think that is something that I've needed to do for a really long time and is crucially and critically important to the sanity of myself and the continued functionality of the base. So I think I was going to go with undergroundies and splitters. That's going to be like the first little factory. All three of these items, iron plates, electronic green circuits, and transport belts, are already being made in my thing. So it's really just a matter of building the base and getting the car layouts cooking. That's why I made this second car situation. It should be a nice excuse, a nice reason, a nice circumstance, a nice something. It's a nice it would be a nice something. I cannot think of the word. To use one of my little splitters. A good excuse to use the new little splitter design that just came up with in my head for the first time ever. Okay, anyway. Oh, beans. That's what happens when you play multiple video games. Still on my tab nonsense. Okay, so we need a bunch of belts. We need a bunch of... I'll probably need a bunch of track because we'll probably just, add one of those stations. And so now the design, I think, is going to be such that the stations are going to be... Nope, still not tab, dude. I wonder how many times that's going to happen. It's more than a little. But so I think I want to start laying these out in such a way, and this is what I mentioned, that you can see that this only has one track. This is just going to be output or input. That's it. And then if I want both, I'm going to have to add another one of these, like up here. So at some point I'd like to come over here and maybe, because I think this is where, well, I don't know. I kind of fancy this area as being like my little mall, my little area. Instead of coming over here to pick up all my random junk, I'll come over here to pick up all my random junk. But hopefully it'll be a little bit more centralized, and automated. It'll all be just in boxes. I don't have to come and refeed the rail machines, So, so I kind of like this area for that, just sort of because, as we sort of grow, I can kind of imagine us growing around this spot, and that this spot won't ever really be super duper far from anything, assuming that we grow in sort of a linear fashion and sort of a circular, if I'm like, I'm going to build a base over here, then obviously that's not true, but this kind of feels like a good little center, and it might be pretty big. It might, I don't know. Not exactly sure. I will probably lay out quite a bit of space just so that I can put lots of things in there. But it'll be probably be a sort of a logistical kind of little mess where I still only have one drop off. Everything comes in via trains, since nothing's going to be created here. Stuff just gets dropped off here and then sorted, and coming up with some way of sorting everything into the correct areas so that I can just walk into this sort of like central square, and I'll just have a bunch of inventories, labels, all sorts of weird little things just to sort of help me get in there, grab the things I need, and bounce. Maybe even like little kit chests where it'll be like a chest that has a bunch of belts. It has some undergroundies. It has some splitters. I can just go grab everything out of there, and I've got like everything I need to make, a few balancers or whatever. So that kind of thing might all go in here. Obviously, we're going to have to clear out some of these monsters. But that means where in the heckany... Maybe down here. There's no reason why this can't be another block of stuff, right? So I could theoretically put it down here. Yeah, that seems like a good spot. So I think this is going to be our area. And then we'll kick this track out in this direction. And then we will have a station here. And then we will have a station here. And that will be... And then in here will be our actual factories. And so both the stations will handle both items. Yeah, I mean, hey, it is what it is. Is that how I want to do it? Now I'm contemplating if I don't actually want to do this kind of thing anymore, right? Because especially if I do come up with like a little like car shifter thing, like something that takes all the items and puts it into a different car, because that way I don't have to worry so much about whether or not cars have the right resources, But if I am going to sort of always just have everything go into car one, because that's what I'm thinking, right? If I have a way of transferring, which I know is not particularly efficient, because it would require sort of a train to go, a separate train to come pick up all the items, take it to a second location, and then have the actual train that's going to be taking that supply somewhere, then has to come and pick it up from that train, which is sort of kind of seems pretty silly, but maybe worth it, just so that I don't have these kinds of scenarios in which I have to like figure out, okay, that train is gonna have to pick, you know, if I have a train that moves turrets, those turrets are gonna have to go into car 2, you know. So far that hasn't been a huge issue, but you know, we do run into an issue where it's just like, well, I've got a train that needs to pick up 5 things, and all of those things are coming out on car 1, so how do I deal with that? But it lets down. I mean, theoretically, you could come up with a station that just has multiple stations, just has like 5 stations, and one of them is called like iron pickup car 1, iron pickup car 2, iron pickup car 3, and then theoretically, I don't know, that seems stinky silly too, but I wonder if that would work. I don't even know if that would logistically work. I assume it would. You tell it to go to the station, it would just stop at that station. And then if there was 5 other stations in front of it, once it was done with this station, it would just fly through all of those. It doesn't care. You know, so there'd be a station here for a car that only has 1 wagon, and that would be car 1. And then basically all the output just goes right here to this last car. Or maybe the 5th car, so technically the 5th car slot, not the 6th car, because that eventually will be a train or a locomotive. So all the items go out there. Oh, I kind of want to try that now. I kind of want to try it. Hold on. I got kind of worked up. Oops, not at all what I wanted to do. Forgot how to play this game. So we got a fair amount of rails now. Still need some belts. Because I don't see why that would work. It's gonna be, like, let's just sort of hypothetical, I end up doing that, and I end up putting that on all my stations. It would be an absolute nightmare of sort of, like, there would just be so many train stations everywhere, and every train schedule would just be a catastrophe. But, whoop, didn't need that. Anyway, but I am curious to see if it would work and see what the sort of consequences of that are. I think nothing. I don't know. Oh, I would probably want a couple of train stops, as if I want to play around with that as we go. Could have picked up some green circuits. That would have made this a little easier. But let's head over to my stupid thingy. My test stop here. And put a couple of tracks down and just sort of see if that's like, is that sort of physically, space-wise, is that even possible? It's hard for me to even really fathom what would happen here. So let's say normal stop lives there, right? And then there's gonna be another stop there. Oh, no. Just kidding. It goes there? No. Oh. I see. This is the kind of thing I was wondering about. So no, there's no way to like actually get sequential stations. Oh, you can. They will after a couple, but not directly. That is interesting. I wonder why that is. So like I could put one here, and then I could put one here, and then I could theoretically put one here, but I'm not going to. So, a little bit of a bummer. I am kind of bummed out, because I thought that might be kind of fun. So that could be car 1. That would be car 3. And then that would be car 6, which again isn't a thing. So, alright, a little bit of a bummer. Let me see. what else I could sort of play around with here. So, kind of thinking, well, if I put it here, the car sort of, let me... Here. So there would be, like, let's say I had my little situation right here, right? And then that, so that would be good for that. And then, yeah, there's no way to, or is there? No, that doesn't line up. Man, bummer. That's a real bummer. I thought that might be kind of fun. Oh well, I mean, it was sort of a stupid idea anyway, but I thought that might be kind of cool if you could just have sequential stops and then just have one output, and depending on which stop it goes to, dictates what car that's actually outputting into. I wonder. I mean, certainly I could do, you know, we can start to filter things, so I could theoretically have, and we could even use maybe both sides. That could be something. So we could have something like this, where we have them on both sides like that, and they'd be on every car, right? Potentially. And then, not that one, just 4. 4 is our max. So require a fair bit of sort of overhead construction costs, right? And because theoretically we'd want to then, all the outputs would get divided against every single one of these, which seems like kind of a lot, and seems like probably wouldn't work. But theoretically, we could do something like this, and then we could just either use circuits to control which ones are activated somehow, or I guess if we're filtering all of our cars, then they would just pick up whichever one I wanted, right? So that's the thing. I mean, I could theoretically set these. So like, let's say in this factory, I'm making undergroundies and splitters, and I want to send those places. I could send all the splitters to the right side, all the undergroundies to the left side, and then I can just make a train come in here where it wants undergroundies in the first car, splitters in the second car, just filter it, and only these two are going to work, right? It's going to put undergroundies in from here, splitters in from here. The filters won't allow any of these, like the train filters, won't allow any of these other guys to work anyway. But I feel like that kind of creates a big old nightmare where I have to either be creating just so many that I'm supplying all of these chests simultaneously, or no, I think that's it. I think that's the option in that circumstance. So, I don't think that's gonna be the way I do it. But I lost my my little concrete things to tell me where my stop goes. Anyway, so yeah. Anyway, thoughts are happening. But real quick before we wrap this episode up, let's at least start sort of breaking ground on our new undergroundy / splitter factory, which is going to be basically right here. And we're just going to have to come up with exactly where we want to put all this. And it's essentially going to go... We're close. We're close to the limit here, but I think that should technically work. Oop. Yeah. I was like, I don't remember missing that bad. No. That's too far. That is too far. Oh, and this is too big. Come on now. Please. So it'd have to go at least here. So that the track can actually meet up. But I have a feeling that we now went too far in this direction. So let's check. Yes. So that obviously doesn't meet up. So, something's going to have to change here. Either we're going to have to move the intersection, which seems like a huge nightmare, or we're going to have to tweak this dog leg here, which seems a lot less problematic, but equally a pain. Well, not equally a pain, also a pain, but probably not as much of a pain. I can get rid of this little thing because I'll end up putting actual track here, but I don't actually know. I have a few I have a few spots to play with right before we're in trouble, so I could theoretically just take this whole thing here and just basically just boop and move it up like that, and that should give me plenty of space to deal with. But that's gonna be a little bit of a construction project. So yes, but anyway, I think this is where our splitter / undergroundy factory is gonna go. And now the question is, given that we're gonna have to, I'm gonna have to redesign this, so I might as well go ahead and put it where I need it. So we'll put it there, so that make sure that lines up, because that's more important. The intersection, I think, is gonna be where it's at. And then what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go ahead and put this here. Cool. So that kind of gives us our, and I kind of like the way this looks. It kind of looks like a, with the circle and these that kind of look like wings, like some sort of military insignia or something. Which I just think that kind of looks cool. But anyway, now we have this. So this is our factory floor essentially. With, again, we got to make sure I take all the stuff into consideration, like these, and then if that's the output, or let's say, whoops, that is not what I wanted. Let's say this is the output here, like so, and then we want to make sure that we get a nice little 6 balancer cooking there. So now we know that our factory floor is actually like here, not here, right? You get what I mean? It's the same thing we've been dealing with this whole time. Anyway, I think we're here. I think we got it. And I think we'll start building this in the next episode. Or maybe I'll just go ahead and put down a bunch of the sort of the usual suspects, various, just the little factory things. Basically put a couple of these guys down and set it up so that it's looks like a factory, and then we'll deal with all the sort of interesting logic of how we're going to build these slightly differently based on the fact that the inputs and outputs aren't in the same place anymore, and all that fun stuff. But anyway, I think that's gonna have to do it for this episode. When I come back with more Factorio, that's what we're doing. We're doing some rail maintenance, we're doing some factory design, and then hopefully pretty soon, and by pretty soon I mean eventually, we will have some of the things I use on a regular basis automated. All right, thank you so much for joining me. I can't wait to see you again, and I hope you have an incredible day. Okay, bye.
Thank you again for watching the video. If you'd like to see more from me, feel free to subscribe to the channel and hit that notification bell if you want to be notified when my videos go live. I'd also very much love to hear from you down in the comments below.